being collaborating for the last 1 year with the Ministry of Industries, how do we push forward our entire economy through a means of digital and enabling the entire economy through digital. So, Honorable Eranga Veeratna, Deputy Minister for Digital Economy, Dr. Hans, the advisor for all of us, for the country, and thank you, sir, for taking this drive for the country. Mr. Varuna Dhanapala, Chandima Kure, the ICTA board member, was my mentor also since 2011. So when I got into digital, Chandima was the CEO at Sabre. And like to see that all of these resources are driving this change, and the leadership of ICTA and the representatives who has come, especially the tech teams who are willing to move beyond the country and to see how do we create this 5 billion growth on digital side for Sri Lanka. But I was seated here and having a chat with Chandima to understand, do we have a number for the local value addition? Still, I think it's not so clear. So that means you guys also supply local industries and the government. If you really leave the online sales piece out, like that means the digital sales and the e-commerce part out, how much do we really add to the local economy as well? Because the GDP number says we had about 4.5%, which is about 1.4 trillion, converted about $4 billion to the economy. But there's a little bit of ambiguity. How do we calculate this? Because if you take all the platform revenue, the value addition is not that. So we have to get the real value addition from the platform, and the services you provided to the economy together will become the value addition from the tech side to the overall economy. But in terms of this topic of moving beyond, I think I would first separate these two tech type SMEs or industries in the country. So one team is about building IP and trying to, it's basically we call them startup ecosystem, which we generally talk about. You create a product and you try to improve it, whether it's local or global. You try to get funding, few rounds of funding, and you want to go global and you want to become a unicorn, right? So there's a set of entrepreneurs who are really like that. But at the same time, there's a large number of entrepreneurs in technology who provides technological support, services, integration, data, analytics, warehousing, all those services to run the businesses and to run the government. I think it's very important that we clearly identify these two segments, because the needs of these two segments are quite different. So all the discussions that we see or we have been seeing is mostly for those startup ecosystem companies, like funding, venture capital, all those things. But I hardly heard for the last few years at least, how do we support rest of the tech SMEs, right? So that is why the Ministry of Industries want to bring this pool of entrepreneurs also under Ministry of Industries support ecosystem. Because at the moment we are also not strong in our ecosystem to support any SME, but we are building our capability. But when we do that, next year, how do we as Ministry of Industries support any entrepreneur, whether you be tech, whether you be agri, whether you be into another sector or hospitality, that your problems are same. So that has to be supported and must be supported by Ministry of Industries. I don't think GovTech will have the bandwidth to support that network across the island, but we should be able to, in terms of your problems in finding a location, getting approvals, getting hiring and all those stuff that needs the basic stuff. Nobody took care of the IT SMEs, because at the same time the recognition. Now all the loan schemes has been mapped to manufacturing. right? Nobody talks about a IT loan scheme or a tech loan scheme. How do you lend to that, right? Apart from we build our venture capitals and angel networks and all that for equity, but we also need debt funding. So the banks should step up, and there should be a mechanism. How do you fund the working capital needs of the IT company? Sometimes these are individuals. Sometimes these are not structured as a corporate. So there is a support system that is required for the IT SMEs as well. So which we would like to take that burden to Ministry of Industries, because the goal and the vision shared by Dr. Hans is a very ambitious target, and we would like the GovTech to focus on that, creating the interoperable platform, making the digital economy work, collaborating with the world, connecting you to all that networks. I think that's a part of the digital economy ministry, and the entrepreneurship support to be mostly driven by Ministry of Industries, right? So this is one piece that we want to highlight, and this is the ecosystem that we build for SMEs as a whole. So whether it's a tech or anything, it will be data driven in terms of creating a digital platform, which we are doing with ICTA, to ensure that anybody comes into the ecosystem of entrepreneurship, whichever your stage, whether you are a startup or a maturity or a growth, your journey is mapped in a digital system across the country. So we know where you are, what kind of support you need. So the ministry's support services can be mapped to your life cycle. This life cycle based support system is what we are planning next year. And then there will be 330 entrepreneurship support hubs across the country, which again will be digitally connected. So any entrepreneur in any district can access to their divisional secretariat. There will be a special office, like all these institutions together, for you to get support at that level. So then apart from that, it's basically the incubator model. So whilst the digital economy creates the digital incubators, we would be also creating incubators across the country with the area potential. Certain areas are having more potential in certain industries, and there obviously has to be a tech incubator everywhere, because that is location, irrespective of the location, you can do technology, right? So the incubator framework is being built, and ICTA has been part of that journey. So we've got the external support. So there's a national incubator framework that's going to come. So if someone to call yourself an incubator, there should be some basics. And if it's not there, the government should also support. We see private sector is doing it very well. Now the government has to support those incubators. Now we have a few in Colombo, one in Jaffna. I don't know anything in Kandy or Goal, if that is. So, and then there are some based on university systems also. But these are not interconnected, integrated. From product to commercialization, things are not smooth. And then the market metrics is about giving market access. So when it comes to product creation, the biggest problem for the SMEs is getting market access. So then the biggest solution that we are still looking for is digital modes of market access that can break lot of barriers in the physical distribution channel, that the SMEs of technology has to now contribute in creating digital platforms for SMEs of other industries, right? Whether it be tourism, a booking platform, whether it be rent a car platform, whether it be a goods platform, whether it's a platform for craft, right? It's you guys who has to now come up with this innovation and build platforms for industries to break their, to solve their issues with market access, right? And apart from that, I think the market access problem can also be looked at in a form of platform business, both in retail and also in funding. So one of the biggest problems the SMEs have is funding, but we don't have enough funding platforms, trusted platforms that can solve those problems. So market access will be one, and the industry research component will come in. Currently we run without information. Now, if I ask all of you, how many factories in Sri Lanka who is looking for ERP? You wouldn't know. I don't know. Now I'm finding factories thanks to the floods. Because until that, I didn't know that existed there. Right? So 18,000 records we've got through a digital platform, which was a crowd-builded, community-builded platform, which is flood.org, floodsupport.org. So we brought it to Ministry of Industries. We launched it on 29, just after the floods. Now we have got, Dr. Hans, 18,000 records on that platform across the country, which we had our own digital platform. We didn't had about 300 records in it. Right? Now there's a need, now people come on board. So we used the opportunity, and we were struggling to create a help desk for last 4 months with SLT, and it got created within 2 days. Now it's working. So when you call Ministry of Industries, it goes through the channel. What I'm trying to say is we use this, but likewise the research has to come, and obviously recognition and stuff, and the support stuff. So this is basically the ecosystem that will come, and this also has a very specific component on access to capital. So not only Digital Economy Ministry, we will also work together in creating this access to capital, solving this access to capital problem. So whether this be bank funding, venture capital funding, or SMEs listing in the stock exchange, all that needs to be fixed. So this is the ecosystem which we want you to be part of. The last piece is about how do you be part of the local industry. Now local industry is not digitized. Right? I know most of you do ERPs, but beyond ERP, there's a problem to solve. So that is why Ministry of Industries from this year is driving productivity, because productivity is the only way forward for Sri Lanka to achieve $36 billion exports or to become globally connected. We need to drive productivity. Where would productivity come is through digital transformation. Right? And that is why with ICTA now we are working on Industry 5 Readiness Index. So next year hopefully we can launch. So every industry in Sri Lanka can do that survey and then assess themselves in the digital journey where they are. So all that gaps is your market. Right? But the real problem now is the digital literacy piece, where as citizens the digital literacy is low. And even for the industry, the digital literacy is low. They don't know why I should get this application. So we need to do a lot of work from ministry side and along with you to showcase use cases. I don't think people know what value it can create. Now, for example, I know here there are software companies who do ERPs. Have you done the ROI? Bring it to my ministry. I will show to everyone that this company got into a ERP. They have improved the process by X. They have improved the productivity by Y. They have reduced the stock by Z. These use cases has to be shown to the rest of the industrials so that they would know. Because what's the problem with the tech fraternity? Even I was in that journey for 8 years. The tech guys show the software. The business don't buy software. It's expense for them. They buy ROI. They buy profit. So you need to convert your story to a profitability. Right? I know the Inland Revenue and Digital Ministry will drive people to have point of sale systems, and I know you have put point of sale. But I don't see analytics happening in point of sale systems. Who has gone and told a shop, you put this point of sales, I will improve your sales by 10% by every month? Have you told that? I don't hear that. Is there advertisement running on Facebook? I can increase revenue by 10%. Forget the point of sale system. Remove that name. What you are doing is enabling sales. That is the conversation we need to bring technology to industry. But there's huge opportunity. Right? Now we have a problem where shops went underwater, entrepreneurs went underwater. They don't want even to come and tell how much they lost. Because then they will get into inland revenue. So this is the reality here. But if you really look at the opportunity for technology is humongous. Because what the GDP that we created 4.5% is with 80% of the companies not touching technology. 80% of the startups not touching technology. And that is why Sachindra told that we need to merge the two startup ecosystems. Because there's no point you starting an industry which is not technologically enabled, no point. මිරිස්කුඩු අඹරලා වැඩක් නැහැ without technology, right? Because what you are doing now is an export oriented industry which has to be productive from day one and globally accessible and should be able to connect to a global platform. Now every agriculture organization around there, have you gone and spoken to them? They won't be able to export from next year onwards. There's blockchain and you need traceability. Without traceability, no farm in Sri Lanka will be able to export to Europe. Now who's solving that problem? If you wait till the farmers to convert, nothing will happen. So somebody has to step up. There's a huge opportunity of business, that's what I'm trying to say. But you have to move beyond your framework and day to day how you do things and bring a value proposition to the industry. And they are ready. It's just that they don't know. So that is how Ministry of Industries and Digital Economy will work together. So that is how I also see that we can create this 15 billion and beyond, because it's not only the transactions but the value creation as well. What it's going to give you is when you solve a problem here for a particular industry, your product is globally recognized from there onwards. Right? You try and go and pitch for become a unicorn. But if you have really solved a cluster, if you have really solved fisherman's problem, if you have really solved the farmer's problem, if you have really reduced energy consumption by X in all apparel companies in Sri Lanka, that's a story itself. That's how, what was the ERP that went out? Imal's one? Abeysinghe. So what they did was they came to MAS, they created the software asking MAS what needs to happen. MAS didn't roll out, they rolled out in some other country. What I'm trying to say is if you fix the industry here, there are problems, that product becomes a unicorn next day, right? I see most of you are trying platforms, everybody is doing platforms, but come to the real problem to solve a real issue in the industry, and that is the invitation for all of you, and we are very happy to hear. I just also had a chat which is idea that we want like a marketplace for all of your ERPs and softwares to be vetted by ICTA. I told Chathuranga also one day that we need vetted by ICTA and put it into a platform vouched by Ministry of Industries, and all the industries can go and pick and choose what they want. And that to be driven by case studies and value propositions, so people know what technology I should use at what stage of my life cycle. So again, wish all of you a bright future and also this program the success. And I am also waiting for Digital Economy Ministry to make certain changes in the legislation, and we are working together, we are fighting as a unit. I think hopefully most of those changes that we anticipated in terms of legislation will come. But again, as a government, we are saying you need to help us in this space. Some of the taxes might not come down, even we would love to. That we have to keep aside as one challenge and a barrier, and work on the things that we can work until 2027. I'm not saying the IMF program. As much as we spread the income tax collection, our tax to GDP ratio will go up. So then there's the discussion we can have to reduce indirect taxes and industry preference taxes. Now industry preference taxes are required. Capital investment tax allowances are required. Pay tax reductions are required to grow this to whatever we want. But that can come If as a country, if we can improve the percentage of tax collection, which 1.3 million people are not paying tax. So there's a big challenge for us to ensure that the tax net is widened and strengthened. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks for this session, and all the best and thank you for being here.